Right?
Yes.
I'm sure all of you guys have been to a gathering of some sort, maybe a party or a family barbecue. You're having a good time, laughing, joking, just talking with everyone and such like that, catching up with Auntie Susie about the kids and such like that. And then all of a sudden you hear a scream out of nowhere. All right, you're looking around, you're trying to see what's going on. You see a commotion over by the patio. All right, then all of a sudden Uncle Joe tells you, "Hey, call 911." You don't know why, but it doesn't stop you from dialing. You're on the phone, walking over to all the commotion and everything, trying to see what's going on. As the operator answers the phone, 911, what's your emergency? And you're trying to figure out. You look over, and then you see your uncle laying down there on the ground, eyes wide open, but you can tell that slowly, little by little, life's passing away from him. How about another scenario where you're over at the theme park, with family, your kids, or anything, and then after you get off one of the rides, like you start feeling a little weak, like your legs start quivering a little bit, then all of a sudden you kind of start feeling this pressure in your chest. And then you start feeling your left hand start going numb. And then you feel that numbness start creeping up your body. So it goes from your hand to your forearm, next we're at your shoulder, and then that pressure just keeps growing so much that you just can't stand anymore. Alright? Imagine this. Imagine being over at work. Alright? Just over at work, training your clients, this and that. Then one of your coworkers comes down, yelling, "Hey, Chile, do you know how to do CPR?" Next thing you know, you're running upstairs, standing over someone, eyes wide open, pale, going even more pale and more pale. You start seeing the blue in their lips start coming about. Start seeing the color start disappearing from their face. All right, you quickly jump into action. You know CPR. You know how to start doing the reps. You're pressing, doing the 2 rescue breaths. You keep going, you keep going, you keep going. But now you start realizing that what you started about a minute ago, you're now in about 6 minutes. And you keep going, you keep going. You have the defibrillator going and everything. You did what you're supposed to do step by step. But you realize that this person isn't coming back. What do all these 3 stories have in common? All the incidents that happened in those stories could have been prevented. All right, just by some simple steps in your daily activity could have helped prevented those incidents from happening. According to the CDC, in 2020, no state had a prevalence of obesity less than 20%. No, I'm sorry, 20%. Meaning that in every single state last year, over 20% of its citizens were considered obese. Overweight. Out of our 50 states, 36 of those states had obesity ratio of 25% more. 12 of them having over 30. Now realize that this statistics isn't just with adults, men and women, but it also is including children as well. What I'm trying to start having you guys realize is that obesity is a huge thing in America. But it can all be prevented just by a few simple steps and just having a daily activity in your life, exercising about 5 times a week, not too heavy, but just a simple walk around your block, joining a gym, such like that. Small little steps like that could actually help in preventing such devastating incidents in not only your life, but in your family and your friends. A little bit about the stats. Over 2/3 of the U.S. adults are considered overweight or obese, meaning that out of all adults, 68% are considered obese. Over 1/3 of the U.S. population is considered. I'm sorry. 2/3 of the U.S. is considered overweight, while 1/3 is considered obese. And a very small percentage of about 5.7 is actually considered extremely obese. Now, let's go into detail a little bit. Let's try to figure out, okay, what does obesity lead to? Obesity can lead to so many negative health factors, such as hypertension, heart disease, stroke, and heart attack. But it all stems from high blood pressure. Obesity, overweight can lead to high blood pressure, which then further on leads to these other health complications. Now, let's go into a little definition about it. That way, we can understand just what it is that that I'm talking about, just what it is that I'm actually going into detail. One of the leading researchers and a professor over at the University of New Mexico, by the name of Glenn Kravitz. He's actually one of the leading researchers in health science and exercise and how it correlates with each other. He stated that high blood pressure kills more than 37,000 Americans each year and contributes to the deaths of 700,000 individuals. When undetected and untreated, hypertension may lead to a number of abnormal problems. He then further leads to define a heart attack as the heart sometimes begins to increase in size, which eventually can cause heart failure. The blood vessels in the kidney often begin to narrow, which may lead to kidney failure. Then he leads to define a stroke as when the brain's blood vessels can develop a small wall defect known as aneurysm, which often leads to a stroke, which is the lack of blood which contains oxygen going to the brain. Following up with hypertension, he states that sometimes lead to a hardening of the arteries throughout the body, which can provoke a heart attack, stroke, or kidney failure. In population areas and societies where physical inactivity and obesity are present and salt and alcohol intake are high, hypertension is common. And now to define really what it means to really be overweight, overweight is having a BMI, technical term is specifically refers to an excessive amount of body weight that may come from muscles, bone, adipose fat, and water, but also with a BMI greater than 25%, while obesity is having a BMI of 30%. The BMI is your body mass index, where they take in a logical calculations such as your body height, your size, your weight, and then putting all those calculations together is what gives you your body mass index. Now, with all these, risk factors such as, having type 2 diabetes, coronary heart disease, there's so much more that obesity can also lead into. It can lead into a stroke, a hypertension, as mentioned earlier, but it can also lead to a gallbladder disease, osteoarthritis, sleep apnea, and breathing problems. Some forms of cancer, complications of pregnancy, and menstrual irregularities. Now, with all these complications, you guys kind of thinking, oh, okay, well, exercise really isn't seeming like a bad idea right now, is it? All right. So through exercise, you can actually reverse all these complications, all these diseases, all these negativities, all these negative health factors. You can actually reverse it with exercise. It's actually been studied by Tulane University, a college out in New Orleans University, states that aerobic exercise reduces blood pressure in both hypertensive and non-hypertensive people. An increase in aerobic physical exercise should be considered an important component of lifestyle modification for prevention and treatment of high blood pressure. Bringing back Dr. Kravitz, he later on says that also with conjunction with the American Heart Association, that physical activity not only helps control your blood pressure, it also helps you manage your weight, strengthen your heart, and manage your stress levels. A healthy weight or a strong heart and general emotional care are all positive aspects of exercise. And there's even more benefits from working out, exercise, and such like that. You get to reduce your risk of type 2 diabetes. You get to reduce your risk of cancers. You get to improve your mental health and your mood, because exercise has been shown to actually help benefit in depression, and has actually been used in certain cases for dealing with depressions. You get to increase your chances of living longer, and you also increase your sex drive. So being part of